Wednesday night, we went to the Covenant Missionary Baptist Church that was an African-American church with a wonderful pastor named Linda. And they do this service on Wednesday nights during the summer, primarily for youth works. And they had a kid that was on the drums. He was about 10, wasn't he? And man, he could just go off on those drums. And they had a guitarist and a keyboard player, and they also had an organ behind him. And they do this service primarily for youth works, but they bring in members of their congregation and they have a testimony time. They had a talent show, and a number of our kids participated in the talent show. You have another favorite part. Can it wait? Okay. So it was their favorite part, contrary to Abby contradicting me. But we danced. They took up offering, and they said, if you don't have money to give, that's all right. You still got to come forward, because they do a circle, and you'll give a hug. And there were 3 ladies collecting the offering, and everybody in the whole place went by and either put money in or gave a hug or both. And then at the end, we had the song that we were singing. This guy who you saw him sitting next to Matt when Matt was playing the guitar. I'm not sure if he was entirely blind, but he clearly had some health issues. They set him up there, and man, he could sing. And half of our kids, I don't know, all of you all may have gone up there, up front. They invited him up front, and everybody was clapping and dancing and all that. And they said, why can't we do that at Trinity? And I said, we could. And Abby said, I'd love to dance in the aisles at Trinity. I said, you would not dance in the aisles at Trinity. She said, yes, I would. I said, no, you wouldn't. She said, yes, I would. I said, no, she wouldn't. She said, maybe you're right, but I'd love to see other people do it. So I don't know. We had a lot of fun worshiping. So maybe we should see about implementing some of that stuff here and have a little bit more fun with worship, though some of you all are thinking, I'm not dancing in the aisles at church. And I don't even know if that's biblical. King David danced. I'll just go ahead and tell you that. Okay. So anyway, that's it for the mission trip. I'll apologize if this sermon seems like a story about raising 5 daughters. It's not, but it is. And I promise I'm going to wrap it up at the end. I will say this, though. I heard a leadership guru say that if you read 5 good, informative books on any particular subject, you could consider yourself a leader. So if you read 5 informative, good books on leadership, you could consider yourself an expert. If you read 5 good, informative books on parenting, I'll leave that up to you. Was I the perfect parent? No. Do I consider myself an expert on parenting? I don't know the answer to that either, but we did survive 5. Yeah, we did survive 5. Yeah. So my question is, if we do not teach them, how will they know? And if we do not show them, how will they know how? After Dolly and I got married, we really struggled to combine our household. And honestly, about the first week, we thought, what in the heck have we done? You know, bringing 5 daughters, ages 2 to 13, into this household, it was not easy. The first time we went to the grocery store together, all 7 of us, we left the cart in the middle of the aisle and didn't buy a thing. The older girls said, we don't have anything to eat. I don't care what you eat for dinner. You're awful. You're awful people. Go home, go to bed. I don't care if you eat or not. Seriously, true story. The first family road trip together, I think it was Gulf Shores maybe, like 12 hours in the car together, all 7 of us. It was less than enjoyable. It was horrible. There were some bright spots. We had a good time, but traveling with these 5 girls was not easy. When we got back, we both looked at each other and we said, never again. It's part of the reason why Dolly and I take a vacation by ourselves every year and felt no guilt about not taking our daughters somewhere nice whatsoever. The next time we went on the trip, as I packed the car, in addition to Dolly and my suitcases, there were 5 neatly packed bags in a row next to the back of the car. When I walked in to the house, there were 5 very well-behaved girls sitting on the couch, patiently waiting to go. And when we got in the car, everyone had their assigned seats. You did not get to pick where to sit. It was not your choice. When we stopped for lunch, I shared this with them, I ordered for the whole lot of us and set food down in front of them and said, you all can figure out what you want to eat. We had a saying, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. Everyone drink water. You don't get to pick what you want to eat. Because at the last one everybody had ordered, I didn't know what everybody had ordered. I didn't know what everybody got to drink. And as you know, sometimes they get orders wrong. And then we got to figure out who was supposed to have. So you don't get a choice in the matter. Early on in our marriage, I asked my mother, I said, how did you get us, me and my sisters, to do our chores and follow basic rules like putting trash in the trash can, dishes in the sink or the dishwasher, putting our clothes in the laundry hamper, or doing our homework? And she said, it really wasn't a struggle at all. You knew what was expected, and you did it. Now, I'm not really sure if she knew the wisdom in those words, but it was then that I realized our daughters were going to rise to the level of expectation that we set before them. So Dolly and I ask ourselves these questions. Who, that is to say, what kind of human beings, who do we want our daughters to become? And how can we help them do it? And so we made our expectations very clear. We equipped them to succeed, and then we held them accountable. They said we had a lot of stupid rules. We quickly figured out that shoes for 5 girls needed to be in their closet, not next to the door. Well, that's stupid. Think about it. 2 pairs of shoes each, you wind up with 20 shoes at the front door. You can't get in. They didn't like that one. We quickly let them know, you will be eating only in the kitchen. Why? Because I'm not picking up all your crumbs. Well, that's not fair. Our kitchen was connected to our living room. The TV sat right there. They just didn't like it. It wasn't like we were punishing them. We told them very bluntly, it's not our job to make you happy. Honestly, we don't care if you're happy or not, but that's not. Happiness is your choice. It's our job to help you become productive members of society. And so we communicated our values, the values of our family, over and over again to our girls. Faith, family, education. In that order. Faith, family, education. Our faith, we would worship together and we would participate in the life of the church. Going to church was not a choice. Participating in youth group was not a choice. Attending Sunday school was not a choice. Being present at Vacation Bible School was not a choice. Family devotions were not optional. And there were times they didn't want to go, and they resented us for this. And they would say, but I don't get anything out of it, to which I would reply, it's probably your fault, but that's okay. You can give something to it. Well, don't I even get a choice in the matter? Yes, you can totally make your own decision. Unless the decision that you make conflicts with the decisions that your mother and I would make for you. And then no, you don't have a choice. So I would suggest you just obey your parents and that be your decision. Yeah, we're cruel, right? Dictators. Dolly and I also lived out this value before them. Reading bedtime Bible stories to our young daughters, volunteering at Vacation Bible School, going on mission trips, teaching classes, singing in the choir, the praise team, taking our children to Christian concerts. And what's interesting is for our 2 younger girls who were 2 and 3 whenever we married, they don't remember any different, and their faith became much more of who they were than something that they did. Think about that. Is your faith just something that you do, or is it who you are? For your children and your grandchildren, is their faith something that they do, or is it who they are? Our second value was family. We didn't pay our kids an allowance. We're awful, aren't we? We didn't pay them an allowance for doing chores. We believed we were a household of 7, and as a member of the family, everyone had a responsibility to contribute. We were not the servants. Dolly and I were not the servants, blessed with the privilege of raising 5 princesses. We were not maids or lawn men or short order cooks. And Tuesday night was family dinner. Now, Dolly doesn't like to cook, all right? She does it out of necessity. And very early on in our marriage, she would get these crock pot recipes together and start them in the morning before she went to work. And we'd all get home and we would eat. And early on, they would all complain about what they didn't like and how it wasn't their favorite. And, ooh, I don't like that. Briley was 2. She ate everything. Daddy, I don't like that. Yes, you do. No, I don't. Yes, you do. I do. Okay, I like it. But anyway, one night they were just letting Dolly have it. I think that was the night she burnt the toast, which they've never let her live down. Anyway, Dolly was crying, and I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "I don't know. I can't seem to do anything right." I said, "Why do you make such trouble over dinner?" "Because I'm supposed to." "Do you even like to cook?" "No, I hate it." "Then why are you doing it?" "Well, I love to cook." Tuesdays were my day off once I became a pastor. And so Tuesdays were our family dinner night. 7 of us were going to eat dinner together. There were no exceptions. If you had a job, you did not work on Tuesdays. You did not make plans with your friends on Tuesdays. And if you had a school function or 2, we might just all go together, cheer you on, and then go out to eat afterwards. So on Tuesdays, one of the older girls and I would pick the menu, and we would fix dinner together. If you cooked, you didn't clean up, which was the benefit. They didn't realize I was actually teaching them how to cook. And then, not cooking, the other ones would have to clean up. And as the older 3 left home, thankfully, that's a comment. As the older 3 left home, it was just the younger 2 and us. And so the 3 of us made dinner together, and we cleaned up as we went. And Dolly would clean up at the end. But the older 3 always seemed to argue over who would do what, Wipe down the counters, that was awful. Wipe down the table, scrub the pots and pans, take out the trash, load the dishwasher, all that sort of stuff. But with the younger 2, not so much. Why? Because they had learned by watching their older sisters. The expectation was clear. This is what we do. Now, whenever all of our family gets together for meals, I cook because I like to cook. But at the end of it, our girls just naturally get up and clear the table and clean up because it's something that they do. Saturdays at our house, all the girls had a list of indoor and outdoor chores to do. Simple, fun things. And our kids did many of these on our mission trip. Scrubbing the toilet. Cleaning the shower. Folding clothes. Yeah. Pulling weeds. Sweeping the back porch. And Dolly and I would show them how to do it, as we did some of the kids on our mission trip. And then we would let them do it. And then we would check to make sure the task was completed to our satisfaction. And guess what? If it wasn't, they did it again. And we got lots of eye rolls and comments like, "Why is this such a big deal?" To which we would reply, "You're right. It's not a big deal, so do it right the first time." Education was our third family value, and the expectation was, you will do your work, you will do your best, and you will learn what they are teaching you. Don't care if you like it, you'll do it. And we didn't expect perfection, but we did expect high performance and them to do their best. And we encouraged all of them, we want you to get a college degree in a usable degree program, all right? Left-handed basket weaving was not an option. You can minor in left-handed basket weaving, you just couldn't major in it. But it wasn't handed to them. They had to have skin in the game, and they had to earn it. We also modeled this because they watched me as I went back and got my Master of Divinity with 5 daughters and working full-time. To achieve what you want, hard work is required. And if they needed money, we were awful, not giving them an allowance. We gave them what they needed, but it was not a free-flowing spigot. And Dolly and I would tell them, you don't have money. We have money because we earn money. If you want money, you need to earn money. We are not an employer. Awful. We had conversations with our daughters about money, earning it, saving it, giving it, investing it. Live on less than you earn. And we modeled it. Whenever I became a pastor, Dolly and I had already made adjustments to our lifestyle. Our girls never knew the difference. They never knew the difference. They didn't know why we went out to Bob Evans to eat on Tuesday nights, because they gave 2 free kids' meals with every purchasing adult. They didn't understand why Dad gave up his nice luxury SUV for what they called the grandpa car. It was my dad's Mercury Grand Marquis. Alex was embarrassed and wanted me to drop her off around the block. Literally. That's not a story. But Dolly and I, with our money, we have always tithed 10% or greater of what we earn to the local church that we're a part of. And above that, we support ministries with our money, ministries that align with our values. I distinctly remember one conversation with my daughter, Alex. She's now 25. She's in the middle, which she had a really tough time adjusting because she was the oldest who became the middle. Hard. But I was having a conversation with her about money, earning, giving, spending, saving, and she thought that me telling her to give $10 out of her $100 2-week paycheck was a lot. And saving $20 out of her $100 paycheck was a lot. And so I asked her, that seems like a lot. Is it easier to give 10 out of 100? 100 out of 1,000? Or 1,000 out of 10,000? If you can't be faithful with a little, how can God trust you with more? We also talked in detail about saving and investing, self-control and self-denial in the present for deferred or greater benefits in the future. And she said, Dad, I feel like kids my age don't know this. They don't know this stuff. We should have a practical class in school to teach this. And I said, that's an excellent idea. Some places they do. But as your father, it's my responsibility to teach you so that you do know this stuff. So that you can become, and she interrupted me. She said, I know, so that I can become a productive member of society. She had heard that before, over and over again. And to this day, the girls will tell me, yes, Dad, you always said it wasn't your job to make us happy. We were to become productive members of society. And one of them who mentors girls younger than her said, I caught myself the other day telling her happiness need not be her concern. She needed to become a productive member of society. And she thought, wow. So why do I tell you all this? It was comical growing up in our household. It had to have been. It was interesting too, and sometimes it was hard. Being a parent to 5 daughters, that's why I went gray at 40-something years old. Teenage daughters do that to you. But I ask you, who do you want your children and grandchildren to become? What do you want your children and your grandchildren to value? If you don't teach them, how will they know? And if you don't show them, how will they know how? And I ask you, who do you want the children and the youth of our church to become? And what do you want the children and youth of our church to value. If you don't teach them, how will they know? And if you don't show them, how will they know how? In the Old Testament, God told Moses, as the people are approaching the promised land, that the nation of Israel was to make it a priority to pass their faith on to the next generation, to tell them the stories about the faithfulness of God. Do not forget the faithfulness of God. You are to tell it to your children when you wake up, when you lie down, when you walk on the road. You're to write it on your door frames, and on and on and on. And in the ancient times, households consisted of multiple generations living together. So the stories of their faith and the wisdom of the faith of their elders was easily accessible and readily available. They talked about it daily. But in our society today, that's not the case, is it? In the New Testament, James implores the church to live out their faith for real. Faith without works is dead. You say you have faith, I'll show you my deeds so you know I have faith. And I know that many of you all here have raised your children and your grandchildren, and now you're on great-grandchildren, some of you all, and you did a phenomenal job because I've met some of your kids and grandkids. But your job's not finished. You have wisdom to share and values to communicate to the next generation of our church. You have a responsibility to teach them and to show them. And if you don't, then who will? I'll tell you who will. People outside of our church that don't possess the same wisdom that you have managed to accumulate. People outside of our church that do not have the same values that we have. So I ask you again, who do you want them to become? And what do you want them to value? And if you don't teach them, how will they know? And if you don't show them, how will they know how? Amen and amen. Please stand for our closing hymn. Two things for the benediction. The first one could be considered preaching, so I'll just go ahead and give it to you. I've heard parents and grandparents and other people say, you know, I just want my child to be able to make decisions for themselves and make the decision of faith for themselves. And they decide, I don't really want to force it on them, and I don't want to crush their spirit, to which I say, hogwash. I never read in the Bible anything but you pass your faith on to your children and grandchildren and their children. And I never read anything in the Bible but, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. It's biblical. Yeah, that's still preaching. Second part is that they, whoever the experts are, probably on the internet somewhere, a group of somebody in their basement, but they say that if children are raised in the church and they have 5 adults, not in their family, who know them, know their name, know what's important to them, care about them, and communicate their care for them, those 5 adults alone will bind them to God and the church, and they will never leave it. And statistically, if you do not have faith in God by the time you are 18, you never will. Statistically. So my challenge to you is, will you be one of those 5 individuals who knows our children and youth, knows about them, knows their name, knows what's important to them, and communicates your love for them and your love of God? Go in peace. Come back next week. Bring a friend with you. We're going to dive into the series, Practically Christian. And we hadn't planned it. Do you guys want to dance in the aisle as we go out? Okay, come on.